He's been described as a performance philosopher. Jason Silva is on a mission to get us excited about how technology is shaping the future. He spoke to Adrian Rochella about how he thinks technology is making us all gods and how ideas should have sex.
Jason Silva, welcome to 1+1.
Thank you so much.
You're a man who has an extraordinary passion for the future, and you say that thanks to technology, we are gods now. What does that mean?
Well, ever since I picked up Ray Kurzweil's book, The Singularity is Near, I kind of fell in love with this whole narrative about how the exponential growth curves of technology are inexorably leading us towards this place where we will transcend the limitations of biology and become as gods, or as Stuart Brand says, we are as gods and might as well get good at it. But ultimately, this is nothing new. It's what we've always done. I think the human condition is defined by our ability to transcend our boundaries. We didn't stay in the caves, we haven't stayed on the planet, and we won't stay with the limitations of our biology. In fact, Kurzweil likes to say that from the moment that man picked up a stick on the floor and used that stick to extend his reach to reach some fruit that was on a high tree, we've been in a symbiotic relationship with our tools in a way that they extend our thought, our reach, and our vision. And so when I say we are as gods, I'm using the metaphor of gods as like these all-powerful deities that we've sort of created, as Ellen Harrington says, having invented the gods, we can turn into them, because inevitably it is not through prayer but through engineering that we are all the time exceeding the boundaries of what's possible or what was once impossible. So I think that's kind of cool.
But you know, God it's a big word.
It is a big word.
Few letters, but a big word. Are you saying that we're at a state with technology now that it means that we actually don't even need religion? It proves that there is no God?
Yeah, well, Joseph Campbell, who's famous for his hero's journey that every human goes through, he says that God is a metaphor for that which exceeds our intellectual capacity. And you could say it's a metaphor for that which exceeds our capacity. I mean, if you were to show a jet engine to our ancestors, that would appear godlike. If you tell me that you have a device made of plastic and metal and you can press a few buttons on it and it sends your thoughts traveling through time and space across the world in real time, you know, your mind, your mental processes are traveling through time and space to reach another mind, to make decisions and interface with another mind across the world, that seems godlike. That seems impossible. And it would have been godlike if presented to our ancestors. And so I think that's where that idea comes from.
I want to ask you about the ethics of the technology that we get to play with today. I want to ask you about, okay, it's great that you and I and those of us in the rich West get to play with our smartphones, have our smart TVs, we can multitask, we can do all this kind of stuff. But it's coming to us through what some people say are sweatshop conditions in China, people earning next to nothing, working conditions that we would find unacceptable here.
Yeah.
So
I think unacceptable anywhere.
So I want to ask you about your thoughts about. It's one thing for us to be really excited about all this technology, but what's the downside of a select number of people on the planet?
No, I agree. I think, look, technology's always been a double-edged sword. I think the working conditions of certain factories where devices are made are atrocious. I think that is absolutely an issue of concern. I think that is absolutely something that needs to be addressed. But let's not forget, some of the other side of that. Bill Clinton, who's doing the Clinton Global Initiative right now, he just wrote an article in Time magazine called A Case for Optimism, and the first paragraph is called Phones Mean Freedom. And the whole thing, he talks about a 2010 United Nations study that found that the cell phone is one of the greatest inventions ever that we've ever done that had to pull people out of poverty.
Do you think we shouldn't, as individuals in the West, we shouldn't feel guilty about playing with our smartphones while there are workers rioting in Shenzhen in China?
Well, no, look, I think we can use our smartphones to create social media campaigns to improve the workers' conditions. So use the technology to address the problems with the technology. The answer is not to go backwards, but to go forward and to improve how the system works. So that's what I think is great.
But at the same time, I take it you're not advocating that we completely ignore some of the real consequences of this amazing technology that we get to play with.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying to ignore the consequences whatsoever, but I'm saying let's not be so quick to freak out all the time. You know, people were terrified of the telegraph, they were terrified of the telephone, they were terrified of the radio, they were terrified of people now, oh, the internet is changing the way we think. I mean, people are so quick to criticize and to freak out because change is disruptive and change is scary. But my thing is, if you look at the long view, we in the end assimilate.
What would you say to parents then who say, oh, my kids, they're not outside playing anymore, they're stuck on their computers in their bedrooms all night with their 5,000 friends on Facebook,
right.
and they're not interacting, they're not having, a childhood that I had when I was a kid.
Yeah. Well,
is the cyber experience sort of socially retarding us to some extent?
I don't think so. I think it's not. I don't think that the cyber experience is less meaningful than, the Euclidean meat space exchanges. I think they're both fun. I think it's fun to play in the yard, and I think it's fun to play in a virtual world. I think it's fun to lose yourself in the imaginary world of a film or a book, and I think it's fun to, play in the garden. So I think that it goes both ways, but we're still interfacing with these virtual spaces through these square boxes, and so that's why it seems so weird and artificial. We're just sitting still, but our minds are lost in this wonderland. They're down through the looking glass. But I think that's not going to be how it eventually is going to manifest itself. I mean, most futurists say eventually we'll be inhabiting virtual worlds that'll be indistinguishable to this. I mean, even our experience of reality is just electrical impulses, electrical signals that are interpreted by our brains. We could be in the Matrix right now and not know it. But eventually, instead of having a telephone call, we'll get to meet in some virtual island, and it'll be full immersive virtual reality. And at that point, who's to say whether the virtual or the real? I mean, they'll be interchangeable, so it won't really matter. These are growing pains. These are transitionary issues that we're having as we move towards this world of unlimited imagination.
Can you paint me a picture of how you see the future in, 10, 20 years? Are we gonna...
Yeah, well, here's what I think is gonna be really exciting. And this is very practical. This is something that everybody's gonna jump on, right? We're about to enter the age of personalized medicine. We don't have to get too exotic to talk about what that means. But because biology is, because people sometimes say, oh, there's all this progress, all this technology, how come people still dying of cancer? You know what I mean? Because medicine up until now has all been basically a guessing game. You try something, oh, it works. You try something else, oh, it doesn't work. But now that we are mastering the information processes of biology, we're going to move into an age where we're going to make the kind of breakthroughs in medicine that we made in information technology over the last 30, 40 years. With biology, imagine being able to sample your DNA and be able to create a complete genetic profile and to know everything that you're prone to get in terms of illnesses and diseases, and to be able to create a biological patch that prevents those things from expressing themselves, to turn off genes, to turn on certain genes, to be able to manipulate your biochemistry to prevent diseases from happening. Nanotechnology talks about molecular-sized devices that will be hunting down any anomalies that they find in the body and killing them, just like an antivirus software on a computer. Or we can actually engineer our own viruses that can deliver certain medicines or software patches to our genes. We'll use viruses to turn off and on genes in our bodies. I mean, imagine that. So it'll be the end of cancer. It'll be the end of debilitating illnesses. We'll have breakthroughs there'll be so many breakthroughs, it's going to literally change what healthcare is.
Okay, so let's jump maybe 200-300 years into the future. Do you think it's going to be more like this utopian Star Trek world, or is it going to be more of like the Terminator, the machines rise up, Cylons take over, that whole...
Yeah, no, I definitely don't believe in the Terminator scenario. 200-300 years, I think that it'll be up to how we use these tools, how we use these technologies. I am trying to inform the culture through my short-form documentaries, my philosophical espresso shots. I'm trying to sing the song that's on the other side of that looking glass. I'm reveling on the other side. I've pushed through the darkness. I've pushed through the growing pains, and I'm envisioning what might be.
Jason Silva, you've blown my mind in the short time we've had a chance to speak. All the best to you with your future. Thanks for joining us on 1+1.
Thank you.